Miss the last bus, and another one will arrive, but you should never get on it.
The city never truly slept. Even after midnight, distant sirens echoed through empty streets. Traffic lights cycled for invisible cars, and neon signs buzzed beneath a blanket of cold rain. But there was 1 hour, one moment,
when the city seemed to stop breathing. 3:13 a.m. The locals never talked about it. Those who knew simply made sure they were already home.
Daniel wasn't from the city. 27 years old and fresh into his new accounting job. He'd only been living downtown for 3 weeks. He rented a tiny apartment on the east side and worked overtime almost every night. His coworkers always joked, "Don't miss the last bus." He assumed they meant it literally. He had no idea they weren't joking.
That Friday, the office was unusually busy. Reports piled higher. Deadlines came faster. By the time Daniel packed his laptop, every floor of the building was empty. He checked the clock. 2:58 a.m. He sprinted through the rain. His shoes splashed through puddles as he reached the bus terminal. Empty. The electronic sign flashed one sentence. Last bus departed. Daniel sighed. No taxis. His rideshare app searched endlessly. No drivers nearby. His phone battery read only 12%. The rain intensified. He pulled his jacket tighter and waited beneath the small shelter. Maybe someone would pass. Minutes crawled by. The city became unnaturally quiet. No traffic, no footsteps. Even the rain seemed muted. Daniel looked at his phone. 3:12 a.m. The screen flickered, then shut off. Battery dead. He frowned. It said 12%. Before he could think about it, headlights appeared, far down the road, slowly approaching. An old city bus emerged from the darkness. Its headlights glowed weakly through the rain. The paint was faded. Rust covered its sides. The route display above the windshield was completely blank. No number, no destination, nothing. Yet it stopped directly in front of him. The folding doors hissed open. No one stepped out. Behind the wheel sat an elderly driver. His uniform looked decades old. His skin was pale. His hands rested perfectly still on the steering wheel. Most unsettling, he never blinked, not once. Daniel hesitated. Does this go downtown? The driver slowly raised one finger, pointing inside, without speaking. Daniel looked around. No other transportation, no pedestrians, no passing cars, only silence. He stepped aboard. The doors closed behind him with a loud metallic slam. The bus was almost empty. 5 passengers, each sitting alone, each staring forward. Nobody used a phone. Nobody talked. Nobody moved. Daniel chose a seat halfway down the aisle. The engine growled. The bus pulled away. After several minutes, something felt wrong. The streets outside didn't look familiar anymore. Buildings became older, streetlights dimmer. The rain disappeared entirely. Daniel looked toward the driver. "Excuse me." No response. The driver's eyes remained fixed on the road, without blinking. The first stop arrived. No sign, no shelter, just an empty intersection. The bus doors opened. One passenger stood, walked off, never looked back. The doors closed. The bus continued. Another 15 minutes passed. Still no traffic. Still no people. The second stop came. Another passenger exited. Again, nothing outside. Just darkness. Daniel felt uneasy. He pulled out his phone.
dead, still.
He glanced toward the remaining passengers. None had reacted. None had even turned their heads. Their faces looked expressionless, like wax figures.
The third stop, another passenger left. Now only Daniel and 2 others remained. The temperature inside the bus dropped. His breath became visible. Something tapped against the window beside him. He looked outside. Nothing. Only darkness. Then, a pale hand slowly slid across the outside of the glass, from front to back, following the bus. Daniel jumped from his seat. The other passengers didn't move.
He hurried toward the driver. "Stop the bus." "Nothing." "Please." Still nothing. The driver continued staring ahead, eyes wide open, unblinking. The 4th stop arrived. 1 passenger stood. As they walked past Daniel, he noticed something horrifying. The person's feet never touched the floor. They floated just inches above it, gliding silently toward the door, then disappeared into the darkness. Daniel backed away, heart pounding. Only 1 other passenger remained, an elderly woman. She slowly turned toward him, the first passenger to move willingly. Her cloudy eyes met his. She whispered, "You shouldn't have boarded." Daniel froze. "What?" She looked toward the front. "Don't let him know you're afraid." Daniel turned toward the driver, still motionless, still driving, still not blinking. The woman continued, "This bus doesn't take people home. It takes lost souls where they belong." Daniel laughed nervously. "This isn't funny." She didn't smile. It wasn't meant to be. The 5th stop arrived. The woman stood. Before leaving, she placed something in Daniel's hand, a tiny silver cross, cold as ice. She whispered one final sentence. "When he asks if you've reached your stop, never answer." She stepped off, vanished. Now, Daniel was alone with the driver. The bus kept moving. The road outside disappeared into thick black fog. There were no buildings anymore, no lights, no sky, only endless darkness. The bus slowed. The driver finally moved. His head rotated, slowly, much farther than any human neck should allow, until he faced Daniel. His eyes were completely white, his mouth stretched into an impossibly wide smile. Then, for the first time, he spoke. His voice sounded like dozens of people speaking at once. End of the line. The doors opened. Outside, thousands of shadowy figures stood silently, watching, waiting. Their glowing eyes filled the darkness. None of them blinked. None of them moved. They simply stared at Daniel. The driver smiled wider. "Is this your stop?" Daniel remembered the old woman's warning, "Never answer." His heart screamed. Every instinct wanted to shout no, but he stayed silent. The smile faded. The driver tilted his head. "Is this your stop?" Silence. Daniel clutched the silver cross. His hands trembled violently. Still, he said nothing. The shadows began climbing onto the bus. One by one, they surrounded his seat. Their faces shifted constantly. Old, young, children, strangers. Some looked horribly familiar. Among them, Daniel saw himself, standing only inches away, smiling. The driver's voice became furious. "Answer me." The windows exploded inward. Freezing wind filled the bus. The shadow version of Daniel leaned close. Its mouth opened unnaturally wide, then whispered, "If you speak, you stay forever." Daniel squeezed his eyes shut. He silently prayed. The cross burned hot in his palm. The bus shook violently. Metal screamed. The engine roared louder than thunder. Then, everything stopped. Morning sunlight warmed his face. Birds chirped. Daniel slowly opened his eyes. He was lying on a bench at the same bus stop. People walked past normally. Cars filled the streets. It was 7:42 a.m. The nightmare was over, or so he thought. He stumbled home, locked every door, called in sick. No one believed his story. Police searched. There was no record of any bus operating that route overnight. Security cameras showed something impossible. Daniel had stood alone at the bus stop for nearly 5 hours. No bus, no driver, nothing. Weeks passed. Life slowly returned to normal, until one night his apartment intercom rang. Exactly 3:13 a.m. Static filled the speaker. Then, the familiar voice. "Next stop, Daniel." The intercom died. Outside his apartment window, a pair of old bus headlights slowly appeared in the darkness. They weren't on the street. They were floating, 5 stories above the ground, waiting. No one knows where the midnight bus comes from. No one knows where it goes. But city legends all agree on one thing. If you're ever alone at a bus stop, and an old bus with no route number stops in front of you at exactly 3:13 a.m., don't ask where it's going. Don't look at the driver. And whatever happens, never get on.